Hello, my name is Omar Rampasa. It is 3:19 p.m., October 11, 2020. And I I tweeted a bunch of tweets today, and I talked about being pulsed at high power. So here is the pressure now. So I've been taking my blood pressure measurements for the last little while. So at 239 to 317, we had 6 readings. 134/92, 131/89, 137/84, 134/91, 113/85, 131/84, all in a sitting position, no activity. So 108, 108, 101, 99, 83, 79 blood pressure. Pulse rate. Okay. So high power, and people are shouting outside the window, maximum power. So this is part of the ongoing experiment here in this building. What people like PK is doing is practicing communism. You have put somebody under a glass, have constant meetings, have a way of disciplining them remotely, and putting certain conditions on their life, and using these directed energy weapons in order to force the person to obey, like an animal in a cage, training, using Pavlov's conditioning program. So so the pressure measurements, the blood pressure measurements proves what I'm experiencing. So I'm getting hit around the neck, the back of the neck, the base of the head, the spine, the middle of the back, upper back, between the shoulder blades, and right here, the middle of the chest. And I could actually feel the muscle moving as I get hit, and the bones moving as well, the joints between the bones. So you can get sprained, a sprained back, the rib cage, broken neck, basically, if the joint is hit. And if the spinal column is hit between the vertebrae, you can hit the disc out, or you can break your neck and get killed. So Rick has it, and I heard the Caribbean black people have it. So that's interesting. Very short article for you. Can I just... and the screen just closed on me. So I bookmarked it. So let me just go back into my bookmarks and get that out. Okay, there we go. Okay, so the coronavirus scenario is playing out at a very rapid speed. So every day something new is coming out. So this is on the news.com.au website, and it's titled Coronavirus, WHO, World Health Organization, backflips on virus stance by condemning lockdowns. So lockdowns have been used to control the coronavirus around the world, plunging millions of lives into chaos. Now the WHO has changed its mind. So that's a bullet point. And there's a short video of David Nabarro saying this. From who? So it says the World Health Organization has backflipped on its original COVID-19 stance after calling for world leaders to stop locking down their countries and economies. Dr. David Nabarro from the WHO appealed to world leaders yesterday, telling them to stop using lockdown. The screen is popping here. Hold on for a second. Telling them to stop using lockdowns as your primary control method of the coronavirus. He also claimed that the only thing lockdowns achieved was poverty, with no mention of the potential lives saved. Lockdowns just have, well, this is my comment here. Lives are saved, but the lockdown kill, several more people than the virus itself. So, and this is what he's saying here. Lockdowns just have one consequence that you must never belittle, never ever belittle. And that is making poor people an awful lot poorer, he said. We in the World Health Organization do not advocate lockdowns as the primary means of control of this virus, Dr. Nabarro told The Spectator. The only time we believe a lockdown is justified is to buy you time to reorganize, regroup, rebalance your resources, protect your health workers who are exhausted. But by and large, we'd rather not do it. We'd rather not do it. Dr. Nabarro's main criticism of lockdowns involved the global impact, explaining how poor economies that had been indirectly affected. Just look at what's happened to the Okay, so let me do that again. Dr. Nabarro's main criticism of lockdowns involved the global impact, explaining how poor economies have been indirectly affected. Okay, I think there is a grammatical error there, may or may not be, I'm not quite sure. Because he's saying that had been indirectly affected, explaining how poor. Okay, so maybe it's just the way it's being said. Just look at what's happening to the tourism industry in the Caribbean, for example, or in the Pacific, because people aren't taking their holidays, he said. Look at what's happening to smallholder farmers all over the world. Look what's happening to poverty levels. It seems that we may well have a doubling of world poverty by next year. We may well have at least a doubling of child malnutrition. Melbourne's lockdown has been hailed as one of the strictest and longest in the world. In Spain's lockdown in March, people weren't allowed to leave the house unless it was to walk their pet. In China, authorities welded doors shut to stop people from leaving their homes. Yeah, folks, welded the doors shut. The WHO thinks these steps were largely unnecessary. You think? Instead, Dr. Nabarro is advocating for a new approach to containing the virus. And so we really do appeal to all world leaders, stop using lockdowns as your primary control method. Develop better systems for doing it. Work together and learn from each other. So there's a picture there of Tedros scratching his head. His message is timely. In a world first, a number of health experts from all over the world came together calling for an end to corona lockdowns earlier this week. They created a petition called the Great Barrington Declaration, which said that lockdowns were doing irreparable damage. As infectious disease epidemiologists and public health scientists, we have grave concerns. Sorry, my screen is reloading. As I said, I have an updates computer, so it's a pain in the, you know what. Okay, so they created a petition called the Great Barrington Declaration, which said that lockdowns were doing irreparable damage. As infectious disease epidemiologists and public health scientists, we have grave concerns about, there it goes again. Every time a new picture pops up on the screen, it repositions the screen. Okay, so let me try that one more time. As infectious disease epidemiologists and public health scientists, we have grave concerns about the damaging physical and mental health impacts of the prevailing COVID-19 policies and recommend an approach. What a pain. And we recommend an approach we call focused protection. Read the petition. Current lockdown policies are producing devastating effects on short and long-term public health. The petition has had 12,000 signatures so far. It was authored by Snitra Gupta of the University of Oxford, Jay Bhattacharya of Stanford University, and Martin Kaldorf of Harvard University. When asked about the petition, Dr. Nabarro had only good things to say. Really important point by Professor Gupta, he said. Yeah, I am, it doesn't take, anybody with a bit of common sense can look at what's going on with the lockdown and figure out that it's not only about the virus, it's political. And I mean, it's so obvious that the lockdowns are causing so much distress and so much loss of livelihood and other fallouts, other mental health fallouts that will have long-term effects, coming to the coming generations, way more than the virus itself. And if older people like President Trump can get the virus and be up and about in a matter of days, and obviously the disease has cures, whether it's expensive cures, whether it's cheap cures, whether it's unethical cures, the fact remains that the disease have cures. And it's not a life and death situation unless the person is not treated properly. And that's true for every disease. It's true for the cold. If you get a cold and you don't treat the cold, you get bronchitis, you get pneumonia, you will die. And that's for the common cold. So there is no difference in that situation than in the COVID situation. So both diseases needs to be addressed quickly and treated quickly. And in both scenarios, the very vulnerable people, and you don't necessarily have to be old. If you have a lot of underlying conditions, if you have cancer, if you have pneumonia to start with, or diabetes, a very bad condition, really, where your pancreas is not working at all, or your liver is not working, then you are at very high risk, and a common cold will take you out. So there is no difference in that situation. So we need to boost our immunity. We need to, yes, protect ourselves. And if you think wearing masks will do that, go ahead and do that. There's a lot of people who don't agree with this. But for people who want to wear the mask, go right ahead and do that, in my opinion. I do not believe that masks work if you can keep a safe distance from a person. If you're up close and personal, like getting close in a bus, and you feel comfortable wearing a mask, then you should. But these are in some cases mandated, in some cases personal choices. But the fact remains that the strong, the healthy, the people with good hygiene, good eating habits, who are in really in a good place psychologically, emotionally, financially, um, and physically, will survive. So for the people who are not in that position, then make yourself in that position, or take yourself out of the picture until you get to that point, and you're going to be fine. So are we in an emergency situation where we have to just lock down everything? No, we're not. And a whole lot of people are coming to the same conclusion. And like I said, you don't need to be a professional to come to this conclusion. Just any ordinary person will look at the situation and see that something else is going on here. There is something else that's going on here. Because this pandemic, if we are indeed, having a pandemic, uh, whether one should have been called or not is up in the air. Is my point. Um, it's the whole scene scenario, I should say, could be handled differently. As the article just pointed out that I read, the lockdown should be in only certain situations and for very short periods of time. There should not be lockdowns for months or weeks. And of course, a lot of people are coming to the same conclusion around the world. Common sense, it's just pure common sense. So the politicians are taking this route, and you have to ask the question, why? Talk to you another time. Oh, I should take my blood pressure reading. So I have to stay quiet for this reading just for a few more seconds, and there we go. My back and my legs are being pulsed. Still high. So I am going to go and hopefully bring down this blood pressure. Talk to you another time.